Welcome to the highlights of the second game of the World Chess Championship match between Ding from China and Yan from Russia. The match is evenly poised at this moment, with the first game drawn between these players. In this game, Ding is white, Yan is black. We shall go through the important moments of the game only. And if you are interested in the full game, you can check my description box. Ding started with the move d4, and after the third move, we have a typical position from the Queen's Gambit declined. Now the fourth move was a really shocking move. White played h3. Well, this move basically violates the principles of chess openings. As every student of chess knows that in the openings we are supposed to bring out our pieces quickly and towards the center. But here the move h3 neither controls the center nor helps develop the pieces. Ding Liren is an incredibly strong chess player. He is one of the best in the world. But he and his team, I'm sure they know the basic opening principles, but they might have had something very deep in their mind, but we don't know what exactly they had in mind. Anyway, Nepomniachtchi reacted in a very interesting manner, and I think this is very instructive for all the students. Whenever you face an unconventional move, try to use your common sense and see why the move why your opponent's move is not the best. Here the move h3 is very slow. It doesn't help development. So black tries to speed up the game and, well, change his plans. Here bishop e7 would have been the normal plan of Queen's Gambit declined. It's a safe move, solid move, and probably black would have equalized. But black tried to speed up the game and to change the game towards Queen's Gambit accepted. He took dc4 with the aim of getting a position similar to what he has achieved after ninth move. So we have this position after ninth move where black's bishop on b7 is very active. I mean, this type of position is typically from Queen's Gambit accepted, with the difference that in Queen's Gambit accepted, white plays a more useful move than h3. We reach the next important or the critical position after the 11th move by black. Here white's e4 knight is under attack from black's bishop on b7 and knight on e4. Now white has to take a decision what to do with his knight. He has a choice of either exchanging on f6 or capturing the c5 pawn. Well, if he captures on c5, so white will be temporarily a pawn up. Of course, the pawn will be taken back by black because it cannot be sufficiently protected. But what happens is quite instructive. That is, white has a bishop on c1 instead of black's extra knight on a5. So we have a situation which is very similar to the first game where white, Yan, voluntarily gave up his bishop for a knight. Even here he has a knight for a bishop. Basically, black will try to prove that his knight is more useful than white's bishop, and white will try to prove that his bishop is more useful than the knight. The best move for black in this position is to place a piece, preferably the bishop on e4, preventing white from activating his c1 bishop. Well, the bishop on c1 is stuck for the time being, and well, the game has been analyzed from here by some of the leading players, And it seems the game is approximately equal but dynamically balanced, where black has a knight, white has a bishop, and temporarily an extra pawn. Instead, white opted for knight f6 in the game. It's another very important moment, probably the most defining moment of the game, where black took a decision to recapture the knight with his pawn. And this shows the mindset of Qe1 Ne4. Qe1 basically, with this move, states that he doesn't care about the safety of his own king. The king will not go to the king's side because of the weakness. And if the king goes to the queen side, even here, the king would lack pawn cover. So black's king would be unsafe. But he's more concerned, he focuses on attacking white's king. So basically he takes risk by capturing with the g pawn, opens up the g line, and he's confident the bishop on b7 and the rook on g8 would give very good attacking chances. So Qe1 takes risk. And this move is a really very interesting move. It speaks of his mindset. Qe1 is willing to take risk to win the game both with black and white pieces. Now here, after few moves, after 17th move, we reach a very important position. Here black has castled on the queen side, and we have a typical game where both sides have attacking chances. It is very important to note that white's rook is opposite to black's king and queen. It is black to move in this position. The reason why I have highlighted this position is that many amateur chess players or improving chess players, they play quite well, they do plan quite properly, and in this position they would easily find the best plan of maybe doubling the rooks on the g file by playing bishop e7, playing rook g7 or rook g8, or maybe going for f5 break to open the b7 bishop. But quite often, while they plan their moves, they miss their opponent's plans. And many players would have played a move like, say, bishop e7 to connect the rooks and double on the g file, but they would have missed white can play bishop c4, sacrificing a piece temporarily, and then playing a move like, say, queen b3. Based on the pin, white will take back the knight with a winning position. Now this is quite simple, but the reason why I showed this position is that we have to be mindful of our opponent's plan while planning or while making our moves. We have to always notice our opponent's plans. Here, before continuing the attack, Qe1 played a simple move, king to b8. Well, the reason why this move is played, after bishop c4 now, black will take back with the knight. And if white attacks the pinned knight by playing something like b3, the knight can move on b2, and now white cannot capture the queen with a check. The king has moved to b8. There is no check after white takes on c7. So this is how black will have a good position. So now that we know that the move king b8 is a simple preventive move, and while attacking you also have to be mindful of your defensive ideas or opponent's threats. So this move was very useful. Now let's move to the next important position, that is position after 18th move by white. it is black to play, and I think this is the most important position of the game. After this move, black takes over the initiative and goes on to win. It is black to play and gain advantage. So you may pause the video here and you may guess what Ne4 has played in the next move. Well, Ne4 played the move f5. It is a brilliant move. Basically the idea is quite simple. It opens the line for the bishop, or the diagonal for the bishop, but it involves a sacrifice or a combination which is very attractive. Well, if any of you would like to know more about line opening sacrifices, you can watch my video which shall be uploaded, a video tutorial exactly on the subject of line clearance sacrifice. It will be uploaded in the same YouTube channel very soon, just after uploading this video. Well, the move f5 not only opens the diagonal of the bishop, this bishop coordinates with the rook and creates a deadly mating combination against the king. If white captures on f5, there is a very instructive or interesting sacrifice which will come up. That is, black will sacrifice a whole rook d4. The aim now, this rook is quite deadly on the d file. It's attacking the d3 bishop. And if white captures the rook, then we have a typical theme, rook g2 check. Note the bishop on b7 and rook g8 are the star pieces in the whole combination. White will have to go king f1, and now another brilliant sacrifice, that is demolishing white's pawn cover in front of the king by playing rook f2 check, and after king f2, queen h2 check, king e3, bishop h3, checkmate. The advantage of f5 move is that since white cannot take on f5, the pieces, white's bishop and rook, are both tied down to defense of e4 pawn. Now the bishop cannot retreat to f1 to defend the king side. Therefore, white is almost completely tied down, and now white starts going astray. He plays a move bishop c2. Well, keeping defense of the e4 pawn. Now black played knight c6. This is a slightly surprising move because the knight was doing quite well on a5, controlling the square b3 and defending c4 from a5. But it moves to c6 because it now wants to attack d4. Now white's center is under attack. Both the e4 and d4 squares and pawns are vulnerable. White played bishop g5. He wants to desperately get some counterplay by attacking the rook. And this is another important position, black to play. Black sacrificed the exchange rook g5, and it didn't take much time. He played very quickly. It speaks that Ne4 is really very confident and he had faith in the position. He played rook g5. After white took knight g5, black took the central pawn, knight takes d4. Now black is an exchange down. He has only a bishop against rook, but look at his pieces. Both the bishops have potential to attack the king. This bishop, the dark squares, these diagonals are very weak, and also black has access to g file. And finally, black has a potentially dangerous extra pawn on the queen side. So there are lots of reasons for black to be optimistic. Although white is an exchange up, his pieces are inactive. Now black threatens a discovered attack with his knight because the rook is opposite to the white queen. White moved queen h5. He moves his queen away from the rook. And black played another very nice move. He simply played f6, questioning the knight. Do you want to go further away from queen side, or do you want to defend in the center? White opted to come back. The knight is needed for the defense, and now surprisingly the queen on h5 is totally cut off from center and the queen side, the most important area of the game. So well, black played very instructive moves. He simply took the bishop with his knight and took back another pawn. So he has 2 pawns and a bishop for a rook, which is good for black. And look at his bishops. They are extremely active and the pawns are also quite threatening. White played rook to d2, trying to ease off the pressure by exchanging pieces. And here black played another very nice move. He simply developed his bishop to d6. And this is not a simple developing move. It threatens to capture the rook by first eliminating the defender of the rook and then playing the discovered check on h2 and capturing the rook on d2. So the move bishop d6 looks very simple, but it's deceptively simple. White defended by playing king h1, and here black played c3. So one of his advantage in this position is he has extra pawns on the queen side. White took, black took. Now this pawn is a real monster, and the uniqueness of this position is that white doesn't have access to these squares with his rook. He doesn't have access to the b file to counterattack because all the squares are controlled by black's pieces. Now white played rook d4, black BC he played rook d4, black advanced his pawn c2. He wants to promote it and win a rook. White played queen h6, and now the final move of the game. It is very nice move. Black simply played e5, and the rook is trapped in the center of the board. It has no square to go. The only square where it can go, which is not attacked by black, is on d2, but if it moves on d2, it will block queen's diagonal to c1, and that will allow black to promote his pawn c1 and win the rook. So for instance, if black plays rook d1, black will promote the pawn and win the e1 rook. So in this position, after e5, white decided to resign. So it was a great game by Ian. He really played very active chess. He seized every opportunity which was given to him by white. And for Ding, well, he made several mistakes. But one of the most obvious moves, which I think he will not repeat in the whole match, is his experiment with the move h3 in the opening. The move h3 in the opening. And before signing off, I would like to point out that there was, despite making some initial mistakes, he did have a chance after 15th move, or rather in the 16th move, instead of playing rook c1, because ultimately we saw white's attack didn't quite take off and black really won the game in a one-sided manner. So white could have tried to block this diagonal by aiming for d5 break by playing moves such as, well, queen e2 at this point. Well, just a moment here. Queen e2, and with the idea of playing maybe rook a d1, rook e1, and finally playing d5. That might have given white a better defensive position. So with that, let me sign off for today. I hope you enjoyed today's match, And tomorrow is a rest day, so we shall be back day after tomorrow with the game 3, the highlights of game 3 of the World Chess Championship match between Ding and Yan. Thank you and goodbye.